first I want to talk with Base Stickman about what's going on in Berkeley. So right now at Berkeley, Ann Coulter has now basically been banned. So Ann Coulter, who is a friend of mine, we disagreed about Trump, but we are very friendly. We've been friendly for years. Ann Coulter was supposed to go and speak at Berkeley about Trump, about immigration particularly, and she was essentially banned. So what she asked for, they said, you can only have students come to your lecture. You can't have anyone from the outside because we can't control it if you do that. And she said fine, which is already an insane requirement. Then they said that we want to make sure that you're in a room of our choosing. It's going to be restricted by size. She said yes to that, too. And then she said, here's what I want. I want you to tell the Berkeley police not to stand down if violence breaks out. I want you to tell the university police that they should not. I want you to ask the university police, please do not stand down if violence breaks out. And the university said no, and then they canceled the event altogether, and they said, we can't keep this safe. There's no way for us to keep this safe. So we now have a rioter's veto over at Berkeley. If people choose to riot, then they can veto the appearance by Milo Yiannopoulos or by Ann Coulter or by me. As soon as the rioters show up, basically, these universities cave, and that's what's been happening in Berkeley. That's also manifesting in terms of the police backing down in situations where they shouldn't back down. So we talked yesterday with Lauren Southern about this riot that broke out in Berkeley. Now I want to talk with somebody else who was there, Base Stickman. So Kyle Chapman is a California resident. He became an internet sensation in early March 2017 during a pro-Trump rally in Berkeley, California, when he hit an Antifa protester over the head with a stick after the demonstration turned violent, and so he's been at several of these. Kyle, thanks so much for joining the Ben Shapiro Show. Appreciate it.
Ben, thanks for having me on.
So, Kyle, tell me a little bit about why you go to these rallies, and then what's been happening at these rallies and what the police are doing.
Sure. So I go to the rallies so I can help support my fellow right-wingers, my fellow conservatives, also to provide protection if necessary, defense if necessary.
And what happens at these rallies? So Antifa, they seem like a pretty new. This seems like a new routine. They're showing up to these rallies to make trouble. How violent have they gotten for people who haven't seen all the tapes?
Extremely violent. When they show up, as soon as they show up, there is a 100% chance of violence on their part. There's no doubt about it. It will turn violent. That is their modus operandi. We're talking. Showing up with bags full of grapefruit and orange-sized rocks that they would lob at us. Many people, totally innocent people, by the way, that weren't even on the front lines, were struck in the head. We even had a lady get struck in the head with a carburetor.
Oh my God!
From a car, and it filleted the side of her face. At the last rally, we had a gentleman get stabbed. We've had men get their head split open. That, it took 12 or 14 staples to close the wound. It's extremely violent.
And what are the police doing this whole time? Because I used to live in a country where when this sort of crap broke out, the police were actually there to stop it. What have they been doing? Just sitting around?
Pretty much.
And where's that coming from? Is that coming from the cops or is that coming from their higher-ups?
It's coming from the police chief and the mayor. The rank and file officers are very frustrated about this. It's very difficult for them to stand by and watch innocent civilians be attacked mercilessly. But obviously, if they break orders, if they, do their job as they see fit, then they'll get fired or demoted.
So how's it gone for you? So you've actually involved yourself in defending your fellow protesters against the violence of Antifa, and it seems like in every one of these cases, despite the media attempts to equate the two sides, it looks like Antifa is starting it always. I've never seen one of these rallies where the Trump side starts the violence. It looks like it's always the Antifa side starting. Am I getting that wrong, or is that basically what's happening?
Every time.
Okay, so it seems so.
The videos, and it's clear, and that's the beautiful thing is we have the alternative media now that's putting out the truth, and so you'll have these mainstream media propagandist organizations that are blaming it on us. And then you just go online and it's clear who's doing it. I mean, they were throwing quarter sticks of dynamite that they would light, drop inside of wine bottles, hurl at us. The wine bottle would explode like a grenade. And shrapnel would hit many of our participants, lacerating them and cutting them.
So have you guys gotten lawyered up? I mean, has anybody from the free speech side gotten lawyered up and gone after some of the Antifa members? Because I saw that 4chan, some of the people over there have been identifying some of the culprits in this sort of stuff. Have there been any lawsuits filed yet against the people who are engaged in violence?
Mike Cernovich is trying to put something together right now. Myself and Augustus Invictus are trying to get a lawyer guild, a based lawyer guild, where we can come together and not only defend people that are participating at these rallies and participating in the defense of the attendees, but also look into filing civil rights lawsuits against the cities that fail to protect us and our First Amendment rights.
So would you call on President Trump to actually send in the National Guard to defend these rallies if the city's not going to do it?
Absolutely.
I mean, and I know that Mark Levin actually called for that yesterday. He's saying that if there's going to be violence in these places, that it's the obligation of the federal government, in order to prevent violation of civil rights laws, you say, to come in and defend against it. Well, I appreciate you going out there and defending your fellow citizen. Obviously, if the police aren't going to do it, I mean, we'd all want to. It's amazing. You know, we're all bred in the United States not to engage in violence with other people, except for the left. And now you've got the authorities in Berkeley that are willing to allow all of this to go on. And so good for you for not standing down from it. Also, you know, have you gotten any blowback from the police? Have you gotten any trouble with the police for having defended other people at these rallies?
Sure. I've been arrested 3 times. I have 5 felonies hanging over my head that I will have to, at some point, if they indict me with the charges, have to fight those charges in court.
Unbelievable. And so, you know, I think that it is imperative. Obviously, it's imperative that, you know, if Jerry Brown, the governor of California, isn't going to do anything and the city isn't going to do anything, then obviously the federal government is going to have to do something in order to prevent the violation of civil rights in these areas, because otherwise it's just putting people like you on the front lines and then leaving you alone as you have to battle it out with a tyrannical system that says that you can't defend your fellow citizens from people hurling bricks and dynamite at you. Unbelievable. Well,
sure. And until that happens, I need my fellow right-wing conservatives and patriots to turn out to these events and step up and do the protection, do the defense that we need to have for these events to be successful.
So where can people go to work with you and help you out?
Yeah, you can go to basestickman.com. It's my webpage. You can follow me on basestickman _ on Twitter. And then I have Base Stickman on Facebook as well, a fan page. I'm still in the process of forming a coalition, getting everybody together. The big thing is if we get people turned out in numbers, and then the people that we have turn out, that they are ready to defend themselves. Helmets, you know, various forms of protection, stab vests, even taping National Geographics around your midsection so that a knife can't penetrate into your vital organs. But this is where it's at, and you know, we need our warrior class to step up.
And folks on the left, let me just say this: you know, you're watching this and you're getting all freaked out because we're talking about defending ourselves. Here's the fact of the matter: defense is defense. Nobody's talking about offensive action. Nobody's talking about attacking anybody else. The only people who are doing the attacking are on the left. Anybody on our side, including Kyle, and Kyle, I'm sure you would say the same thing here. No one is saying that people who are rallying in favor of free speech are going to go out and commit acts of violence unprovoked. Obviously, everyone's against that, but everybody needs to be defended in their pursuit of free speech, obviously.
Certainly, and we also need to take other actions like getting these Antifa groups like BAM, By Any Means Necessary, led by Yvette Falarka, a 4th grade teacher. We need to get these groups designated as domestic terrorist groups so then the feds can move in and break them up.
And if they are participating in politically driven violence, that is the obvious definition of politically driven terror. So, Kyle, thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate it. And folks, go over and check him out, obviously, on Twitter at @BaseStickman_ or at basestickman.com. Kyle, appreciate you coming on the show and talking about it.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Absolutely. So, meanwhile, you know, with all of this going on, it does demonstrate that the left really has no program at this point other than to shout and scream. But this is what I fear, going back to the sort of O'Reilly point and the point about economics and Trumpism, is that the Democrats are looking for a focal point. And one of the ways that they're going to find a focal point is if we on the right are willing to excuse bad behavior because we agree with the general things that people are saying. When we excuse bad things, we open the left we give the left an opening. Forget about the moral point that you should never defend immorality. You shouldn't be defending bad things as a general rule. But beyond that, you're also doing something that's bad politically because you're opening the door for the left to attack you. So with all of this O'Reilly stuff going on, you end up with people like Stephen Colbert, going after Bill O'Reilly openly now, and he feels he's justified in doing so because Fox News for years and years and years tolerated a culture where Bill O'Reilly's alleged behavior was allowed, apparently. So here's Stephen Colbert going after Bill O'Reilly. He says so. He called him what was this? A self-righteous landfill of sundry garbage, of angry garbage. Yeah, I mean, so he's just. And I mean, when you talk about a self-righteous landfill of angry garbage, I mean, Stephen Colbert is right there at the top of the list. Self-righteous, and he spent his entire career living off of Bill O'Reilly. He's actually got to be the saddest guy in the world that Bill O'Reilly just went away since he made his career off of him. But this is what the left loves. I mean, this is why the left loved it when the right basically looked the other way on some of the things that Donald Trump said. Elizabeth Warren is still trying to play that card. She says that Donald Trump won because he used an ugly stew of racism and sexism, and then she, for some reason, put on a headdress and started doing a rain dance, which was weird.